Welcome again to this channel, where we honor the lives and legacies of extraordinary individuals. Canada has produced some of the most remarkable female athletes, women who pushed boundaries, broke records, and inspired generations. But sadly, some of these champions left us too soon, their stories ending before their time. Today, we pay tribute to these incredible women, remembering their triumphs, their struggles, and the indelible mark they left on the world of sports. Today, we remember Sarah Burke, the legendary Canadian freestyle skier who changed the sport forever, yet met a tragic end that still breaks hearts. Born on September 3, 1982, in Barrie, Ontario, she was a pioneer of the superpipe event, a five-time Winter X Games gold medalist, and the first woman to win the halfpipe world championship in 2005. She fought to get her event into the Olympics, paving the way for women in freestyle skiing. But she never got the chance to compete at the games she helped create. On January 10, 2012, during a routine training session at Park City Mountain Resort, Utah, Sarah suffered what seemed like an ordinary fall after landing a trick. Witnesses said it didn't look severe, but moments later, everything changed. She went into cardiac arrest right there on the mountain. Paramedics rushed to her aid, and she was airlifted to the University of Utah Hospital, where doctors placed her in a medically induced coma. The fall had caused a tear in one of her vertebral arteries, leading to massive brain damage due to lack of oxygen and blood. Despite emergency neurosurgery, the damage was irreversible, and after 9 days of fighting for her life, she passed away on January 19, 2012, at just 29 years old. Her death sent shockwaves through the sports world, leaving behind a grieving husband, Rory Bushfield, and a devastated skiing community. Sarah's final act of kindness was in donating her organs, a testament to the selfless person she was. But before tragedy struck, she was a force of nature on the slopes. She grew up in Midland, Ontario, with a fearless love for skiing, often sneaking onto snowboard halfpipes when she was younger, determined to prove women deserved a place in the sport. She competed against men when there were no women's divisions and broke barriers at every turn. She was the first female skier to land a 720, 900, and even the groundbreaking 1080-degree rotation in competition. She fought tirelessly to get women's freestyle skiing recognized on the world stage, and was instrumental in getting the halfpipe event into the 2014 Sochi Olympics. Many believed she would have won gold had she lived to compete. Off the slopes, Sarah was kind, humble, and dedicated to helping others, running marathons for charity and coaching young athletes. Even after her death, her legacy lives on. The Sarah Burke Foundation continues to support young skiers, and in 2014, her ashes were scattered over Sochi during the Winter Olympics, a silent tribute to the champion who never got to compete. She was posthumously inducted into Canada's Sports Hall of Fame, and Highway 93 was renamed in her honor. Every woman competing in freestyle skiing today stands on Sarah's shoulders. She wasn't just a champion. She was a pioneer, a fighter, and an inspiration. Her tragic death is a reminder of the dangers athletes face, but her life is proof of what passion and determination can achieve. Sarah Burke may be gone, but her spirit soars in every spin, every jump, and every young skier chasing their dreams. Rest in peace, Sarah. You will never be forgotten. Angela Bailey, a name etched in the history of Canadian athletics, left this world far too soon on July 31, 2021, at the age of 59, after a relentless battle with stage 4 lung cancer. The disease had taken hold in the fall of 2020, and despite her unwavering strength and determination, it slowly drained the life out of a woman who once defied the odds on the track. For years, she had pushed her body to its limits, setting records, winning medals, and inspiring a generation. But cancer proved to be a battle she couldn't outrun. Her family stood by her side as she took her final breaths in Toronto, ending a life that had burned bright with achievement and resilience. Even as she fought for survival, she carried the same determination that had made her a champion. A woman who had once shattered the barriers of Canadian sprinting by running the 100 meters in 10.98 seconds, a record that still stands today. Born in Coventry, England, In 1962, Angela moved to Canada as a child and quickly found her passion in track and field, rising through the ranks to become a dominant sprinter. She burst onto the international scene as a teenager, winning silver in the 4 multiplied by 100-meter relay at the 1978 Commonwealth Games, setting the stage for a remarkable career that saw her claim 3 more silver medals at the Commonwealth Games, a bronze at the World Indoor Championships, and the pinnacle of her success, a silver medal at the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics. She was a fighter, always pushing forward, even when the odds were stacked against her. After her athletic career, she pursued law, earning her degree from Queen's University and later becoming a real estate agent, proving that she was more than just an athlete. She was a woman of intelligence, ambition, and drive. But behind the medals and accolades, Angela struggled with personal battles. For 5 years, she fought a silent war with mental illness, a struggle compounded by the devastating news of her cancer diagnosis. Despite everything, she remained resilient, never losing her spirit, even as the illness consumed her body. Those who knew her remember her as a fierce competitor, a loyal friend, and a kind soul who carried the weight of her struggles with grace. Her passing marked the end of an era, a heartbreaking farewell to a woman who had given so much to Canadian sports, who had inspired countless young athletes, and who had, in her own words, proved that greatness could be achieved without shortcuts. As we remember Angela Bailey, we remember a woman who ran faster than most ever could, who stood on Olympic podiums, who fought battles both on and off the track, and who, in the end, left behind a legacy that will never fade. Sandra Schmirler was more than just a curler. She was a fighter, a champion, a mother, and a woman whose name became synonymous with greatness on the ice. But her story took a heartbreaking turn far too soon. On March 2, 2000, at just 36 years old, Sandra passed away after a devastating battle with cancer, leaving behind a legacy that went far beyond the sport she loved. It all started after the birth of her second daughter in 1999, when she began experiencing intense back and stomach pain. At first, it seemed like it might just be lingering effects from pregnancy, but as the pain worsened, tests revealed the unthinkable: a large, cancerous mass had developed behind her heart. It was an aggressive and mysterious form of metastatic adenocarcinoma, a cancer so elusive that doctors couldn't even determine its point of origin. Sandra, ever the fighter, called it the cancer from Mars and refused to back down. She underwent emergency surgery in September 1999, but during the procedure, a piece of the tumor broke off, causing a blood clot in her lung. Her heart stopped on the operating table, and only the frantic efforts of doctors brought her back. She fought with every ounce of strength she had, enduring chemotherapy, radiation, and alternative treatments in a desperate bid to stay alive for her 2 young daughters. Even in the midst of her illness, she remained connected to curling, working as a commentator for CBC and making one final, emotional public appearance at the National Junior Curling Championships. She spoke candidly about her battle, her hopes, and her dreams. She wanted to take her family on a warm vacation, to step onto the curling ice once again, to live. But time was running out. Just weeks before her death, a CAT scan revealed more cancer spreading to her lungs. The treatment stopped. She was moved into palliative care, and on that quiet morning in March, she slipped away in her sleep. The world of curling, and Canada itself, was shaken. Flags flew at half-mast in her home province of Saskatchewan. Tributes poured in from across the country, including from Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, who called her an exemplary sports ambassador and praised her courage in the face of unthinkable odds. But beyond the titles, beyond the medals, Sandra was a woman who lived with passion, determination, and an unbreakable spirit. Born in 1963, she grew up in Biggar, Saskatchewan, a small-town girl with a big dream. She started curling in 7th grade and quickly showed a natural talent, winning her first provincial championship in high school. She continued to dominate as she moved into professional curling, claiming 3 Canadian curling championships and 3 World Curling Championships. But her crowning moment came in 1998 when she led her team to victory at the Nagano Winter Olympics, earning the first ever Olympic gold medal in women's curling. That moment, standing on the podium with her teammates, was the pinnacle of a career built on hard work and resilience. Off the ice, she was a devoted wife and mother, a woman who found joy in the simple moments, laughing with her teammates, raising her daughters, and staying humble despite her success. Sandra Schmirler was a champion in every sense of the word, and even though cancer took her life far too soon, it could never erase the impact she made. Her name is forever etched in the hearts of those who watched her play, those who knew her, and those who will always remember the woman who made history with a curling stone in her hand and a fire in her heart. Ada Mackenzie, a true pioneer in the world of golf, left an indelible mark on the sport, shaping opportunities for women in a time when society often pushed them to the sidelines. Born on October 30, 1891, in Toronto, she grew up surrounded by sports, excelling in everything from cricket to figure skating before discovering her true passion, golf. But her story is not just one of talent. It is one of defiance, determination, and groundbreaking achievements. In an era when women were restricted to playing golf only in the afternoons while men took precedence on the courses, she refused to accept the limitations imposed on her. In 1924, she founded the Ladies Golf Club of Toronto, the first and only women's golf club in North America, ensuring that women had a space of their own to play the sport they loved. Her dominance on the course was undeniable. She won 5 Canadian Women's Amateur Championships, competed internationally, and even made history in the US and Europe. Beyond her competitive success, she was also an innovator, opening a women's sportswear shop in 1930 to provide female golfers with more suitable attire. But despite all these accomplishments, her later years were marked by the quiet fading of a legend. She never married, dedicating her entire life to golf and the empowerment of women in sports. On January 25, 1973, at the age of 81, Ada Mackenzie passed away in Toronto, leaving behind a legacy that still stands strong today. While the exact details of her final days remain private, what is certain is that she never stopped advocating for women's golf, even as time took its toll on her health. The game she loved so dearly had been changed forever because of her efforts. Ada's passing was not just the end of a life. It was the closing chapter of an era where one woman's relentless fight for equality redefined what was possible. Her contributions were recognized with inductions into the Canada Sports Hall of Fame and the Canadian Golf Hall of Fame, among others. But no accolade can truly capture the depth of what she achieved. Today, every female golfer who steps onto a course owes a debt to the trailblazer who refused to let society dictate her limits. Ada Mackenzie may be gone, but her impact lives on in every swing, every putt, and every woman who picks up a golf club and refuses to be told where or when she can play. Mary Rose Thacker, a name once synonymous with grace and mastery on the ice, left the world on August 5, 1983, at the age of 60 in Victoria, British Columbia. Her final days were quiet, far from the rinks where she had dazzled audiences and trained generations of young skaters. After dedicating her life to figure skating, first as a competitor and later as a coach, she faced health challenges in her later years, and her passing was a somber moment for the skating world, marking the end of an era. Mary Rose was not just a champion. She was a pioneer, a young girl from Winnipeg whose elegance and skill earned her 3 Canadian national titles and 2 North American championships in the late 1930s and early 1940s. Born on April 9, 1922, she was introduced to skating at just 3 years old by her mother, and from that moment, the ice became her second home. By the time she was 16, she had already claimed her first national and North American titles, a feat that established her as a formidable force in the sport. She was poised to take on the world, selected to represent Canada at the 1940 Olympics, but history had other plans. The outbreak of World War II crushed her Olympic dreams as the Games were canceled, a cruel twist of fate for an athlete at the peak of her abilities. With competitions on hold, she retired in 1942, shifting her focus to coaching, where she spent the next 35 years molding future champions and nurturing young talent. In 1947, she opened the first summer skating school in British Columbia, ensuring that even without international recognition, her impact on the sport would endure. Her life was one of dedication, discipline, and an unwavering love for skating. Even as she stepped away from the spotlight, her legacy remained etched in the hearts of those she mentored. Inducted into the Canadian Figure Skating Hall of Fame and the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame, she was celebrated long after her competitive days were over. But behind the trophies and accolades was a woman who had sacrificed so much: her personal life, the chance to shine on the world's grandest stage, the normalcy of childhood, to be the best at what she did. And in the end, despite all her success, she passed away quietly, leaving behind a legacy that still glides across the ice today. The outbreak of World War II crushed her Olympic dreams as the Games were canceled, a cruel twist of fate for an athlete at the peak of her abilities. With competitions on hold, she retired in 1942, shifting her focus to coaching, where she spent the next 35 years molding future champions and nurturing young talent. In 1947, she opened the first summer skating school in British Columbia, ensuring that even without international recognition, her impact on the sport would endure. Her life was one of dedication, discipline, and an unwavering love for skating. Even as she stepped away from the spotlight, her legacy remained etched in the hearts of those she mentored. Inducted into the Canadian Figure Skating Hall of Fame and the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame, she was celebrated long after her competitive days were over. But behind the trophies and accolades was a woman who had sacrificed so much: her personal life, the chance to shine on the world's grandest stage, the normalcy of childhood, to be the best at what she did. And in the end, despite all her success, she passed away quietly, leaving behind a legacy that still glides across the ice today. Burka, a legendary figure in the world of figure skating, passed away on September 12, 2016, at the age of 95, leaving behind a story of triumph, resilience, and heartbreaking loss. She wasn't just a coach. She was a force of nature, shaping the careers of some of the greatest skaters in history. But behind the success and the fierce determination on the ice was a woman who had survived unimaginable horrors. Born in Amsterdam in 1921 to Jewish parents, Ellen's life was shattered during World War II, when she and her family were sent to Westerbork transit camp. In a desperate attempt to survive, she registered herself as the Dutch national figure skating champion, even though no such title officially existed at the time. That small act, combined with the fascination of a Nazi commander with skating, likely saved her life. While she was transferred to their Seenstad concentration camp, her parents and grandmother were sent to Sibibor, where they were murdered. At their Seenstad, she met Jan Burka, the man she would later marry, and together, after their liberation, they walked nearly 900 kilometers back to Amsterdam, holding on to nothing but hope. In 1950, she moved to Canada, alone with her 2 daughters after her marriage ended, and built a career that changed figure skating forever. She introduced artistry and ballet to a rigid sport and coached her daughter, Petra Burka, to an Olympic bronze medal and a world championship gold. She trained legends like Toller Cranston, Dorothy Hamill, and Elvis Stoico, leaving an indelible mark on the sport. But for decades, she kept her past buried, not even telling her daughters about their Jewish heritage until they were teenagers. It wasn't until later in life that she began to open up about the horrors she endured, and her story was finally told in the documentary Skate to Survive. She became a member of the Order of Canada in 1978 and was inducted into multiple halls of fame, but no title could truly capture what she overcame and achieved. Her final days were spent in Toronto, the city she called home for most of her life, where she continued to be a beloved mentor and inspiration. Even as she aged, she remained a towering figure in the skating world, her influence spanning generations. When she passed away, the world lost more than just a coach. It lost a survivor, a fighter, and a woman who had turned tragedy into greatness. Her story is a reminder of how even in the darkest times, one can find a way to skate through the storm.